Hello, Go Horrors and Deadites. I'm Sam, and welcome to Our Life in Horror. I am so excited to review this movie. I just heard of it last week. I think it came out on Crave, um, and it is called Red Rooms. It is a French film. It is directed by Pascal Plante, and it is starring Juliette Jarapy. Yeah. Oh my God, this movie is wild. It is unsettling. It's long. It's 2 hours long. And at first I thought that would be a little bit of a turnoff for me because I don't do well with long movies. And this was actually kind of slow burnish too, but I loved this movie. I'm going to tell you right now, I gave this a 5 out of 5. It was fantastic. So, a little description. This is basically about a girl who she's a model and she becomes deeply invested in this trial of a serial killer. And she becomes a little bit obsessed with the crime, I guess. Um, Oh man, spoiler-free thoughts. This was crazy. The movie does not show a lot, so it's not a super gory movie or anything, but it is still super disturbing. If you're not into gore and blood, but you like disturbing, this would be for you. Um, it's super unsettling. There's lots of really cool shots, cinematography-wise. Um, the use of the red lights was cool. The score was unsettling, and the performance by the main actress was incredible. She creeped me out. I just really like the storyline as well. Some of my favorite horror is about captivity, probably because I'm a female and that stuff actually creeps me out. So this whole story just intrigued me. There's also another character in this movie that she has an interesting storyline as well. So, if you're into French films and you don't mind subtitles and you like disturbing, I highly recommend this movie. Again, it is on Crave, so you can watch it there. I will be getting into spoilers now, though, so you have been warned. So the movie starts off in the courtroom. You spend a lot of time in this courtroom, and it's in Montreal, and they do not show you what happens to these 3 children that were taken by this man. But they describe it, and man, is it scary. Like, the way they talk about, like, slitting the eyeballs with the X-Acto knife and, tearing off their limbs. And the whole time they're discussing this case, the man who is up for trial, he is just sitting there, like, picking at his nails and looking at them. And just his whole demeanor is really creepy and unsettling. And it just makes you feel icky. We also get a picture of like a set of braces on, I guess, on a set of teeth. So like they don't show you exactly like what happens to these girls, but they show you a bit of the aftermath and describe it, and it's just super creepy. And this is a great example of a movie that leaves things up to the imagination. One of the mothers, she is very prominent in this film, of the victims, and she basically is like disgracing people who are fans of the serial killer and of the case and stuff. And it's just kind of funny because following we're following the one girl, but there's actually 2 of them that are very invested in this case. The one girl is more Clementine. She's more of a fan of the actual killer, whereas our main girl, she is like just invested in this entire case, and the even with the little girls. Our main character, she seems extremely desensitized because she will be on her computer like hacking stuff and going into this case like on the dark web and stuff. And I like the one scene where she has the picture of the girls like blown out on her computer, and then she just casually whips out her workout mat and changes to a workout video and just starts working out. Like, she really does not have a whole lot of emotion. She really can just turn that switch off, I guess. I don't even know if she has an on switch. Um, but it is super unsettling following her. And just the way everything is shot, like, the camera just kinda lingers on things, and, like, sometimes it, like, moves around the courtroom or just, like, moves around the apartment, like, just and, like, then we'll just, like, focus on her. I don't know, just the way it was shot was super unsettling too. We also have a scene where Clementine calls in to that talk show where everyone on the show is basically ripping apart this man that did these things to these kids, and she can just not let it go. She cannot face the fact that he is the killer. She is so obsessed with him. At the end of the movie, we actually find out that she's like in love with him. And she will just defend him no matter what. And the people on the TV show are just basically telling her she needs to come back to reality, and you can't help but feel sort of bad for her because she's so passionate about this, and, like, she's, like, clearly in distraught, but, like, I don't know, you also, like, can't really feel bad for her because, I don't know, she's in love with a serial killer, but yeah, that phone call was pretty intense, and then we go back to the courtroom, and the way they line everything up, they're like, "This is the day that we're gonna play the videos, and everyone's been waiting for this day," like, it just makes it so intense, and then, everyone has to leave the room, and the parents end up staying in there, and when they play the videos, all you hear is the screaming, and then the mom rushes out just in total shock, and the paramedics come because someone fainted, and I'm assuming someone fainted in there because you see someone laying on the ground because they probably couldn't handle what the content of the video was. It just makes it feel so brutal. And then we find out that the main girl, she actually has seen these videos. So she tells Clementine, like, I've actually already seen them. And Clementine says she wants to see them as well. So they go back to the apartment, and she shows them to her, and Clementine is just crying, and a part of me is like, "Okay, she's probably crying because of the content, but she's probably also crying because the killer, she knows that it's actually him, and she's in love with this man." So, yeah, she's probably feeling a little bit defeated at the same time, but you can tell that our main character, she just has no emotion while watching these movies, these videos. Afterwards, there's a really cool shot in the courtroom again where it's focusing on our main girl, upside down, I think, and then it like flips around and then goes through the courtroom slowly, and they're just discussing the case. I believe they were talking about, sorry, I wrote some notes here. Oh yeah, they were talking about how if you go onto the dark web, like you will most likely get caught. Someone's going to probably be looking into you, and it's highly illegal. And the score is just super creepy during the scene too, while the camera is going across the room. This movie just did such a good job at unsettling you. And then we get a scene where she's back in her room right after they're talking about how illegal it is and how you can get caught and get arrested. She's back in her apartment, like in the chat room, saying she's ready for whatever it is she's ready for. We don't know as the audience yet exactly what she's getting ready to buy on the chat room, but it's just my anxiety was going through the roof. I'm like, what is she doing? Because this feels like it feels super dangerous, and it feels like we're watching something we're not supposed to. Then we get the scene that made my jaw literally drop. We get to see our main girl go back to the courtroom for the trial, and she is in a blonde wig. And when she's sitting in the courtroom and she's got the blonde wig in, and you see her lean over and put the contacts in, I thought that's as far as it was going to go, but then you see her take off her whatever she's wearing over top of the school uniform. I literally gasped. I was like, no way is she wearing this little girl's uniform. And she even had a pair of braces that she puts into her teeth. This part, I was just like, oh my God. And then the mom of one of the victims of Clementine, she looks over and sees and like tells everyone else that like, look what this girl's doing. And obviously they have to take her out of the room. But when she makes eye contact with this killer and he notices her, she has the biggest smile on her face. She feels like she has succeeded because he's noticed her, and that's what I'm assuming is going on. Like, she just wanted to be noticed by this guy, and yeah, it right then you know like, throughout the movie, you think it's gonna be him, but you don't know for certain, which, again, that can happen in real life, like, until proven guilty, but once he notices her and he waves at her, like, that just solidifies it. Then we get the scene where she's playing poker. She's very smart. She's, like, really good with technology and just really smart with numbers, and she's just a really smart character to follow, but she uses it really oddly. So the scene with the poker and the auction was so intense, and, like, I know what she's doing is bad, but for some reason, I was, like, still rooting for her to win this poker match and win the auction, and my heart was racing, and then afterwards, when she won, I was like, "Why was I rooting for that?" Like, it was so confusing. But yeah, she ends up winning, and then she wins the video of Clementine, which no one has seen and is a huge mystery to everyone as to what happened to Clementine. But yeah, she wins it on the dark web, and she gets to watch it. I also like how every time she's watching these videos, the whole, screen goes red because of it's a red room. I thought that was really interesting, and when, her and Clementine I'm kinda backtracking here. When her and Clementine watched, the red room videos, we don't actually see what's happening on them, but we see the aftermath of the blood everywhere. That was super creepy as well. And our main character does not have a lot of emotion throughout this movie, except when the man notices her, the serial killer, and when she wins the auction. She starts crying happy tears, which is really messed up. And then she goes to the victim's house and she's in the wig again. And she goes and sneaks into the house and is sitting in the bedroom taking photos in there. And then she goes to the parents' room and leaves what I'm thinking is a drive of the video on the nightstand. So now the case is going to be settled. Um, the parents can know what exactly happened. Yeah, I'm curious as to where she went after this, and what she's going to obsess over next. And then we get the ending finale of Clementine doing her interview, about her love for the serial killer and how she's just trying to get him out of her head and is thinking of the victims. So we're following two really messed up girls. Clementine is clearly very troubled, but she still has a lot of emotion, whereas the main girl, I don't even know what her name is. Um, Yes, her name was Kellyanne. Kellyanne doesn't really have emotion and just becomes obsessed with these things, I guess. I don't know. It's she did such a phenomenal job though because she creeped me out. Um, Clementine was a little bit more personable, I guess. But yeah, overall, this movie did such a good job at just um making you super disturbed, but not showing you everything, so I thought that was really well done. Yeah, I'm giving this a 100 for sure. I thought this movie was incredible. I absolutely love the extreme French horror films, and I would put this right in that category. Even though it's not as visually brutal, I think the way they described everything was an interesting way of doing things and was still super effective. So, a couple fun facts I found online. Director Pascal Plante purposely took the story away from the actual serial killer to the groupies to give it a female point of view, which is quite rare in thrillers. Um, the director was intrigued by the serial killer groupies who pop out of nowhere for each serial killer that makes the news and are seen rooting for him at their trials. He wondered who were these people, but as he researched cyber crimes, he chose to reflect the technological aspect of our society into his thriller, thus making the protagonist a very modern psychopath. The movie was shot in Montreal, Quebec, and Kelly Ann's username on the poker website is Lady of Shalott, referencing a 19th century Camelot-themed poem called The Lady of Shalott by English poet Alfred Tennyson. It's eponymous character suffers from isolation, not unlike Kellyanne. Yeah, those are just a couple fun facts I found on IMDb. But yeah, if you've seen this movie, let me know what you think of it in the comments. What would you rate it? Were you disturbed by it? Did it not really affect you? Do you like the French extreme horror movies? I am totally putting this under that category. Yeah, let me know in the comments what you thought of it. And as always, please like this video, share it, subscribe, and always remember remember to stay spooky.